Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble, as always, presented by the Light Sports Network. I am Troy Otradovic, joined by my ever-wonderful co-host, Evan Watallison, out in the great state of Wisconsin. Evan, today we bring in another special guest. We've been talking football, and there's a lot of NFL going on, the Combine, and all of these things. But now, nobody realizes that indoor football is going strong, and we are actually pleased today to be able to bring in the head coach of the Northern Kentucky River Monsters, Mike Goodpaster. So, Mike, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Troy.
Oh, no problem, bud. So, we'll get started off right away, Mike. We've been really trying to get our listeners in tune with the other football. That's what we'll call it. I know you guys see it as your professional sport, but most of our listeners are NFL based. And so we're really trying to reach out to them about indoor football. And the one thing I found out last week, Mike, is everybody still associates when I talk indoor football with the AFL. And this is the CIFL, not the AFL, not the IFL. So if you could, for our listeners, talk about the CIFL, what the rules are, the regulations, kind of what the CIFL is, so they understand the difference between the indoor leagues that are out there.
Okay, I'd say arena football, they have a net. It's more rules that are designed for scoring, where the defense is kind of hamstrung. You're not allowed to blitz. You're not allowed to stunt. It's basically designed for games that end up 72 to 70. The difference is indoor football, you've got more rules where it's more conducive to running the ball. You can stunt your linemen. You can blitz guys. It's 8-on-8 football. Field's 50 yards long, 28 yards wide, which is basically the same as Arena Football League. You get a lot of our guys. I mean, we had two guys that went to the Arena Football League from our team last year. We had a guy 2 years ago when I was in Evansville that ended up in the CIFL, or in the CFL. He played for Winnipeg last year, and he's back with us this year. I equate it similar to, since there's no really minor leagues for the NFL, that it's a lot like AA baseball, where you do have guys that move up from there. It's a film league, which means you're getting good film to send to NFL, CFL, that's pretty much the difference in a nutshell. It's a lot faster game on a lot smaller field. You've got quarterbacks in the NFL that probably couldn't play for us because it's a lot tighter field, a lot tighter window. You got to make quicker decisions. You got to have a quicker release point, and it's a lot of times hard to find a really good quarterback.
Yeah, you're kind of saying in the pre-show a little bit that you're kind of going through that right now with your quarterback situation. Now you're the guy who was your quarterback, probably someone a lot of our listeners might be familiar with, Jared Lorenzen. Now, you said you're looking for a quarterback now, right?
Yeah, we're looking for a quarterback. I've got a list of probably 600 guys I've gotten a hold of. The problem is, if you get a guy without an indoor experience, you got to kind of figure out on his film whether his release is quick enough, whether he suits the indoor game. It's hard to find those guys. Jared was a great quarterback to have. He had NFL experience, and his game fit the indoor game. And it was like having another coach on the field. He wasn't one of these guys that came in and thought he was bigger than everybody else. He was always helpful to everybody, helped everybody out, was great with the fans, and it was a big loss for us, and we need to replace him, and we will replace him with somebody that can win us a championship.
Yeah, I wish him a speedy recovery. What's it like when you look at your league? You get a guy with such the profile as he does. He's well known in the state of Kentucky with what he did at the University of Kentucky, and then spent some time with the Giants. What's it like coaching? I know you said he's a good friend of yours too on the pre-show, but what is it like coaching a guy of his caliber? And do you feel it adds some credibility to your fans when they see a guy that has NFL experience and Division I college football experience?
Yeah, it adds big time credibility. community. He always did anything he could to help the team out. It's something you get him. He was just coached by Tom Coughlin a few years ago. But the fact that he's willing to listen will tell you why he became such a good football player. I mean, it's hard to find a guy like that, and we're not going to be able to find a guy like that probably again. Not on this short of notice, not willing to play for that much money. It was in his backyard. He could play in front of his family and friends. So we just got to get somebody in here as close to that as we can, as quick as we can. So if there's any quarterbacks out there with good film, you can send it to me.
You might as well plug it, Mike. You might as well plug. Maybe there is a listener out there. There may be a guy out there that has played a little bit of quarterback and would love to come down to Kentucky and play for you. And leading into that.
Yeah, and the thing is this. I mean, the thing is this. Most of the guys we've got on our team were Division I college football players. If they played Division II or Division III, they were all Americans. We got a lot of guys that were in NFL camps. We've got a guy that played in the CIFL last year. I mean, it's a high quality of football, so you're probably not just going to jump off your couch and do it. But if we got anybody with good film, I'm more than willing to look at it.
That's awesome. So let's go into that part of it, Mike. When you guys are looking to build the roster, take me through that off season. You know, how do you guys hold tryouts? You know, how do you go out and recruit players for your team? Because it is a very high level of football. You know, like you said, these are guys that had possibly been in a camp, didn't quite make the team, but they were very, very good college football players, and they just didn't get their shot in the NFL. How do you go out and put your team together when you're looking at your roster?
Well, basically the first thing we do, so we don't have to house a lot of players to cut the expenses, is every college within about a 2-hour radius. We go in, we watch all their film, we try to find guys there, get a hold of their coaches, or even Facebook's huge because you can find most of these guys on Facebook, see if they're interested in playing. I've also got some friends that are CFL scouts, which will drop some names to me here or there to try to help out. And I mean, I probably got 300 or 400 emails at least of people that were sending me film that I hadn't even contacted. Because everybody wants a chance to play, because everybody thinks that they can do more than what they've already done. And we're here to give them that opportunity, because nothing's worse in life than waiting until you're 40 years old and thinking about what you could have done.
Yeah, as someone that used to play football, I did play a couple years at the college game, and I feel exactly what you're saying. You know, obviously I know that, you know, my playing days are done, but, you know, there's always that itch that you have when you start watching it again. It's like, man, I can still be out there.
You didn't have to be a quarterback, did you?
No, I was an offensive tackle. So I have a pretty good throwing arm, but I was an offensive tackle. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably about 10 hours a day for about 3 or 4 months trying to put a team together. And that's the thing that's the killer here. We got a defense that's number 1 ranked defense in the league. We give up less than 30 points a game, which defensively in indoor football, if you're giving up less than 30 points a game, we should be sitting here at 4-0. But we just haven't put enough points on the board.
Yeah, it makes it quite difficult when you can't put enough points on the board. So you were talking about, when you're looking to talk about for the pay, what does the contract of one of your players typically look like?
You're averaging between $100 and $200 a game. So it's nothing huge, but it gives you a chance to get film out there. And over the last 3 years, guys I've coached, 5 or 6 have been in Arena 1 camps, a couple in NFL camps, a couple have made it with the CFL.
And you just kind of stole my question.
So you're not going to get rich, but it gives you a chance to move up.
Sure, you just stole my question, Mike. You know, what is the opportunity? You know, for those players, you know, there may be some players in there that say, hey, this is great. You know, I love the opportunity. I love playing in the CIFL. Like you said, it's in my hometown. I can play with my friends and family. It's great. But you probably have a handful of those guys that are just needing to stay in shape, keep their football skills honed so that they can get that shot again. How often does that happen? You know, when you look at it, you've been in this league for a little bit. On an average year, let's say from this team, how many of your current players may get a shot at getting invited to a camp this summer?
I would say we have a shot with at least 2 or 3.
That's awesome.
We're a very talented team. We need a quarterback. But, we had Jim Caldwell, the new Detroit Lions coach, got a hold of us a couple days ago about Dakota Marshall, who's one of our cornerbacks. He's the one who played in the CIFL last year.
Wonderful.
And, a lot of this is just knowing the right people or getting the right people to see your film. Because there's probably at least 5 or 6 guys on every one of these teams who would have a chance to play in the NFL or CFL. You just have to get the right fit.
Sure. So besides Dakota Mason, who are some of your other really strong players this year that are considered your leaders? That would be considered the players that are going to lead this team, I guess, defensively while you're looking for a quarterback.
Well, defensively, I would say DJ James. He played for me last year at the Owensboro Rage. He's improved in the off-season dramatically where I think he has a chance to at least play in the CFL. He played at Kentucky Wesleyan. TJ Harris, who was a guy who I don't think he even played in college. He came to a tryout. We picked him up. He's done a great job this year. Leader-wise, on the offensive side, I think we have the best receivers in our league. We've got Ricardo Linhart, who you were talking about the IFL earlier. I think he was the leading receiver in the IFL a couple of years ago. He was also the leading receiver for us 3 years ago in the UIFL. We got Willie Idolette, who played at Wake Forest in the Orange Bowl for Wake Forest. I think he had 7 receptions for a little over 100 yards and a touchdown. Sean McGarity, who was a wide receiver at Oregon State. Eric Evans, who was a wide receiver at Virginia Wise, I believe it was, who's caught like 80 touchdown passes in the last 3 years.
Wow.
We got a ton of Division I guys. We got Frank Straub, who played at the University of Cincinnati. Darrell Brown, who was a nose tackle at the University of Cincinnati. So, we've got plenty of good players. If you watch a CIFL game, especially the upper-level teams, you're going to see a really high quality of football.
No, you're about 4 games into your season right now, and obviously we have talked about your situation at quarterback. How's the season going so far for you?
We're 2-2 right now. We lost a close game to a very good Marion team yesterday, 27-20. We're set up. We played Dayton in 2 weeks, which Dayton is a team that has a quarterback by the name of Tommy Jones, who is one of the best quarterbacks in indoor football. He played at the University of Indiana, was the starter there. They have a wide receiver by the name of Robert Red. Huh?
That's why I've heard the name before. I'm like, why did I hear that name before? I'm a big Big Ten football follower.
And they've got a wide receiver by the name of Robert Red, who for 3 or 4 years in a row with the Cleveland Gladiators, Arena 1, caught over 100 balls. And also, I believe he played with the Philadelphia Eagles, the Atlanta Falcons, was even in the old World League of American Football, or the NFL Europe, whatever they called it by the time he was there. And he was one of the best receivers there. So I don't know how good they are defensively, but I know offensively they're going to be able to put some points on the board. So that's a huge game for us. We beat them. We're sitting in the second playoff spot, and everything's fine. So we have to get the win in 2 weeks.
Well, you talked about your good
How many week season is your season?
What was that?
How many weeks does your season go?
It is a 10-game season, and then the top 4 teams make the playoffs.
And so when you're looking at, I know we talk about quarterback, and when you look at your team, what are the key things that you're going to have to do? I know you got Dayton coming up. You had mentioned that. When you look at your team, you're talking about you beat Dayton, you're in the second playoff spot. What are the keys for victory for this team? I know your quarterback's down, but when you get into those meetings, you get into practice, what are the things that your team does really well that will allow them to win football games?
We have a very violent defense. They swarm to the ball. It's one of the few defenses I've ever coached where there was a picture on our Facebook and band website of a play where they ran a dive, and all 8 of my guys are on top of the ball carrier.
Wow.
So we're a very aggressive offense. Right now our key is to not turn the ball over on offense. Our defense is very aggressive. We score points with our defense. We've scored a touchdown in, I think, 3 of the 4 games with our defense. But, we just need to limit the turnovers right now and just get after people. That's what we do. It's what we do better than anybody else, too. There's no team that has as aggressive a defense at any level as we do. And we're just trying to get the offense in the same mindset.
Okay. You got a game with Dayton coming up. Now, most teams have, somebody that they'll point to and say, they're our biggest rivals. Who would you point to in your conference, your league, that you would say, these are a team this is a team that, we have to beat every year. Like you have Packers, Bears, in
our division, it would be Marion and Dayton. And we just lost to Marion by a touchdown, so it makes the Dayton game even bigger. I mean, our biggest rival would probably be Marion, just because there's a lot of guys on that team that I'd coached in the past, and a lot of the guys on our team right now played with a lot of those guys in the past. So it makes for a fun game. Everybody kind of knows each other, and there's none of the crap after the plays because everybody respects each other. There's a lot of talking before the game, but when the game's played, everybody just played it.
That's awesome. So let's talk about rivals. I mean, when the rival games must be really great for the fans. So let's touch on the fan involvement. I know, being in indoor football, it is a very, and I'll call it a very cost-effective, fun family atmosphere. So if I was a fan, or for our listeners, if they've never been to a River Monster game, talk to me about your fan base, Mike.
Our fan base has been really good so far. I mean, our crowds have been on a Sunday afternoon, so it's kept them down a little bit. I think we're averaging around 1,500. But the games from now on will be on Saturday night, which I think will probably double it. You come to our game. Before the game, we have a pregame concert on the concourse, like a tailgate party, all indoors, because it's always snowing up here lately. But you come up, you get a concert, you come to the game. I mean, you can interact with the players during the game. I mean, players will come up and talk to you in between plays if you're sitting along the boards. It's $12 for a ticket. I think it's $20 to sit up front. A lot of fan interaction is huge with us after the game. They open the gates. Fans can come on the field, talk to the players, get autographs. It's not like an NFL game where if you go on the field after the game, they tase you. So
you might get tased, but it'd be for fun instead of taken to jail, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think we'll tase anybody, though. We'll be all right there.
So what are some of the promotion you guys have? Because I know promotions are a big way that a lot of teams in minor league baseball and arena league, football, minor league hockey, they do a lot of promotions. What are some promotions you guys do to draw fans in as well?
Well, our Dayton game, which is March 15th here in a couple weeks at the Bank Kentucky Center, we got Military Appreciation Night, where I believe the first 150 kids, 12 and under, get a G.I. Joe action figure. First 500 adults get these sports playing cards. We go the week after, our next home game after that, I believe, is Superheroes Night, where people can dress up like a superhero. Our players will be dressed up like superheroes when they come out before the game. We got a community faith family night, our last home game, where we're trying to get all the local churches and everything involved to come out. I mean, it's a very family-friendly atmosphere, and I mean, everybody's there to have a good time and watch a football game. And who doesn't like that?
Well, that's what I was saying.
I would love that. I wish we had similar to you in Wisconsin.
Well, you come on down.
You know what, Mike? We would love to. With our show, Evan and I are just. I call us just sports geeks. We love every type of sport, but especially football. Even though I was a soccer player and a soccer coach, it's just football. I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I think I had a football in my hand the day I was born. Even though I was nothing more than an average football player growing up. That's why I opted for soccer. But we would love to come down sometime and catch a game and actually cover it and put it on the show. And we'll talk about it. We want to keep promoting leagues like yourself and even the Red Light Sports Network. That's what we're here for, to talk to people like yourself that have a passion for the game. I mean, you're going out, you're saying your players are making $100 to $200 a week. They're not playing for the money. They may be playing for the future for maybe
they're playing for the love of the game and a chance to get at a higher level.
Exactly. So I'm gonna kind of throw a personal question out to you. I know why your players are doing it. for you, what is the most enjoyment that you get from coaching in the CIFL? What is the biggest reason that you put a smile on your face and you do what you do every day?
Because there's nothing better you can do than coach football. Other than play it, and I'm too old to play it. But, I mean, there's just nothing better. I mean, number one, I mean, the guys that play for me are a great group of guys. And it makes me want to do that. I mean, I've coached my son's Pee Wee team before. I coached football for 20 years, everything from high school all the way up. And, I mean, there's just nothing better. It's just a family atmosphere amongst our team. And almost every team I've ever been around has been like that. I mean, I got guys that played for me 15 or 20 years ago that I still stay in touch with daily. I mean, it's the connection you get with people. I mean, that's the great thing about football, I think. It's the fact that we did this together, we bonded on it, and we got each other's back 20 years later, no matter what.
Yeah, I grew up around the game too, and I can kind of, I haven't been playing or coaching in quite, in a number of years now, but what you're just saying, like, hits home exactly. Like, I still keep in contact with a lot of the guys I played with in high school and at the college I played at in Rockford as well. So, like, I definitely understand where that's coming from. Now, where would you like to see, like right here, like 4 games in the season, obviously you want to compete for a championship this year. Looking long-term future, what would you like to see accomplished out of your team?
Out of my team is long-term stability, because that's the problem in these leagues where you'll get, if you got a 10-team league, you got 3 or 4 teams that are really stable. What I want to bring to this organization and what our ownership wants to bring to this organization is something where we're there every year, because a lot of the indoor teams have a hard time getting sponsorships because maybe there was 3 or 4 teams in the past that didn't live up to what they told sponsors they were going to do. All year we've lived up to everything we told our sponsors we were going to do. Our players get paid every week the way they were promised. I mean, that doesn't always happen in every indoor football organization or arena football league organization. So, I mean, that's what we want to bring. I want to bring stability. I want this team here for the long run. Whether I'm here or not 15 years from now, I hope this team's still here. And then I can say, in some way, I was a part of that being in this community.
That's awesome. Because I know we had talked a little bit before the show about financial stability. Evan had brought it up. The AFL actually had to fold shop, when the recession hit the United States. What do you think are the biggest things that will keep the league stable? I know you're probably not the business developer for the CIFL, but from the coaching standpoint and the community you're in, what are those things that need to be done, whether it's fan support, ownership support, but what are the things that you think are really necessary for the CIFL to maintain stability, to be a consistent league, and to be playing year in and year out?
I think the main thing was stability-wise, and the CIFL has been around 8 years. They got new ownership 3 years ago, and each year the league has gotten more and more stable. And I think the biggest thing from a team aspect is community involvement. Because if you have a lot of community involvement and the community knows that you care about the community and you're just not in it to make a quick buck, they're going to back you. And once you get the people's support, you're good. But, I mean, that's the thing, is community involvement. Get out in the community. Have players that are respectful, that don't do anything to embarrass your team, which the NFL could take a page out of that, too, if they could follow that. But, I mean, right now, when I recruit players, I don't just look for the 21 best football players. I look for the 21 best players with the best character. Because we interact with kids a lot. And you come to a River Monster game, after a game, when the kids are down there getting the players, coaches' autographs, they're looking at them like they're Jerry Rice or Joe Montana. So you have to be respectful of that and know that what you're doing means a lot to this kid at this moment. And he will probably remember that when he's an adult even. And, I mean, you can have a lasting impact on people. If you have a lasting impact on people, people want you around.
Yeah, with looking at the time that we got left, what are, fans are interested in, following you guys, either through social media or contacting you? What are ways that they can interact with your team?
We got a Facebook page. Just go on Facebook, Northern Kentucky River Monsters. Our website, northernkentuckyrivermonsters.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RiverMonster11. You also we have a Twitter page for the Northern Kentucky River Monsters team also. The website, you can get ticket information. You can see our roster, see where our players have been, what they've accomplished. Basically, NorthernKentuckyRiverMonsters.com is probably the best place to go.
Wonderful. Well, with that said, Mike, I appreciate Evan appreciates you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're busy looking for a quarterback, but hopefully, good luck finding a quarterback. Like we said, we will definitely be supporting the CIFL. If there's anything that we can ever do for yourself, for the River Monsters, feel free to reach out to us. We'll gladly have you on the show anytime that you want to be. Just drop us an email or tweet us, and we'll find time to have you on the show. Is there any last words you want to say to our listeners about the CIFL, about the River Monsters? I'll let you have the floor here for a little bit.
All right. Well, the CIFL, the other teams in the league, we got some people out there that may not even know they have a team in their city. The North Division, you got a team in Chicago, Port Huron, Detroit, Saginaw, and Erie, Pennsylvania. In the South Division, you have teams in Lexington, Louisville, of course, Northern Kentucky, Dayton, Marion. All of them have websites. Do a search on them. You can find them. And like I said, it's family fun. You can't take your kids to a movie for as cheap as you can take them to a football game. And it's 3 hours where they'll actually be good, too, and you won't have to chase them around and yell at them.
and there's interaction for them. There's stuff to do.
Yeah, there's interaction. What kid doesn't want to watch a football game? I know my kids love it. And if you guys ever want to come down, we'll sit you on the bench with us if you want.
Yeah, well, we'll hold you.
See what happens before the game. You can be at the team meal and everything.
Awesome. We'll hold you.
Very cool.
We'll hold you to that. Now we just got to find a way to get down there, Evan.
Anytime you want.
Well, Evan, just under 3 minutes, bud. Any last words for Coach?
Not anymore for Coach. Just thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure talking football with you. Pleasure learning more about the CIFL, and hopefully our listeners can learn a little bit. As we want to do at the Red Light Sports Network is, talk about those sports and those leagues that the big boys like ESPN and your CBS Sports and your NBC Sports might not be talking about. We want to talk about those, get people knowing that, hey, there are other things out there besides the quote-unquote major sports leagues and, major teams. So I appreciate you coming on and promoting your team and your conference and your league.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. And the other thing I can tell you about the supposed lower levels of football,
90
everybody
seconds.
playing is respectful of the game, and you don't have any spoiled prima donnas there.
That's very awesome to hear.
Yeah, and I got that from our conversation, on Twitter and having you on today, Mike, that, you guys are doing this for the love of the game. You're not out there, just collecting a paycheck and saying, man, I'm going to go and I have to play football today. You guys want to play football and coach football every day, and that makes for a great game. I can't.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the NFL, where you get guys that might be mad because they're only making $1.5 million, and the other guy's making $2 million.
Yeah, and so I'll tell you, as a fan, I appreciate watching those games where there's a lot of passion. Don't get me wrong, I love watching the NFL. Nothing wrong with it. I love it. But like your team, for example, I really will find the time to get down there. Probably not this season. So you better stick around long enough, at least for me to come down maybe next season to be able to watch you play. Because I'll
probably be somewhere either way. So
well, you're stuck with us now. You come on the show, you're like Red Light Sports Ramble for life. You're always welcome. So
that's fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah, we will find you at some point, but we just love watching sports where there's a lot of passion and a lot of heart involved. But with that said, Mike, I didn't warn you before. Once we end the show, the live show is done, we will hang up, and we're not doing it on purpose. We love talking to you. But with that said, everyone, we hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you enjoyed Coach. If you're out in the Kentucky area, you got to get out and see the River Monsters play. Go to the CIFL website. Check it out. See if there's a team in your area. Get out, support the CIFL. Coach, thanks again. For everyone else, have a great night. We'll see you at the next red light. We'll get back at you tomorrow.